21 at 6 o'clock. You can see this meeting through Zoom meeting through Fall River Government TV, channel 18. The meeting will also be available on Comcast cable, channel 18, or on the website Fall River Government Television. Pursuant to the open meeting laws, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present or deemed acknowledged and permissible. We'll start with roll call. Christine Oliver. Stay here.
Present, here.
Paul Machado.
Here.
John Ferrer. Unmute, John.
Yeah. Here.
Carolyn Alburn.
Here.
And Alex Sylvia.
Here.
All right, the meeting tonight, we have John Brandt, Christine Oliveira, Paul Machado, John Ferrer, Carolyn Alburn, Alex Sylvia. We're missing Victor Ferris. And we're still missing an appointee from housing. And we'll have someone from the mayor's side joining us probably at the next meeting. So we're missing that one. We do have a citizen input. But since the gentleman is from outside of Fall River, I need a motion to allow for us to put this in tonight. So if I could have a motion to allow.
I'll make a motion to allow.
He's a Westport resident. Second. I take a roll call vote on that. Christine Oliveira,
Yes.
Paul Machado,
Yes.
John Ferrer,
Yes.
Carolyn Alburn.
Yes.
And Alex Sylvia.
Yes.
And yourself,
All
John.
right, this is from. Okay, this is from David La Lima from 418D Driftwood Road, Westport, Mass. January 25th. It's regarding landscaping for Jerry Lawton's Green. Dear Community Preservation Committee members, my name is David Lima. I'm a lifelong, I along with Sandy and David Dennis several years ago initiated Hostin's Hydranian project for Fall River. The focus of this project was to bring hope and civic pride to the city of Fall River through landscaping. A significant number of Fall River residents are from the Azorians, and particularly from the island of San Miguel. From mid-June to mid-August, the island is awash with spectacle of Marphilia hydraneas everywhere. This species is virtually the only hydranean that generates a spectacular range of blues, a breathtaking sight for sure. They love the Azorians because the temperature, climate, since the new buds begin on the old growth in the early winter months and therefore are not sustainable to killing of frost. 2 years ago, the Hostian project through the generosity of People's Institute enabled us to plant 53 of these same hydranean species around City Hall via a concept called Pots and Pots. This concept was recommended by Malcolm Codon, Director of Heritage Gardens, Experimental Hydrangea Gardens in Sandwich. The plants were moved to a local Azorian nursery in Fall River in the fall, unheated greenhouses until the spring. Last year, the project expanded to Old 2nd Street. Additionally, the Creative Arts Network has received a grant to purchase the plants throughout the Battleship grounds. Also, local neighborhoods have embraced planting hydraneans throughout this division, as well as local businesses, as well as the MA Department of Transportation, District 5 for the South Coast has embraced the potential planting of the plants. And success and positive response to this project gave rise to the mayor declaring June Hydrangea Day, and City Council passed the ordinance. In support of this project, I would strongly encourage the planting of hydraneans in the Jerry Lawton Green. By doing so, you would be adding to the growing and ever-changing landscape of Fall River. All righty. Next, we need a,
John, I
Yes.
believe there was one more public input that Sandy, did you get an email from Patrick Higgins about a public input, a statement that he made?
I didn't get anything from Patrick Higgins.
Yeah, he had sent something to Sandy. Are you there, Sandy? I'm not sure. I have a copy of it.
Okay, if you'd like to read it, go ahead.
Yeah, hang on. So this is from Patrick Higgins. He is from Fall River.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Tonight-
You can read it, Kristen. I did get it, but it wasn't in a formal letter, so.
Well,
But-
he had it listed as public input. That's why.
Okay. All right, I would,
Okay.
yeah.
Tonight you will be discussing the Gerald Lawton Green, also known as Gerald Lawton Park, for a CPC award. Please be advised that I am very happy about this project as long as the park benches that were installed at the time of the original park are restored. If the park benches are not included, then I would be totally opposed to this project going forward. Thanks, Patrick Higgins.
Alrighty. Okay, that's it for citizen input. Can I have a approval of the minutes, March 2nd, 2021? Could I have a motion?
I'd
Make a
like to make a
motion,
I'd like to make a motion that they be amended.
Amended?
So for the section that says the election of vice chair, it said it was, the motion was made by Victor Farias and then it was seconded by Victor Farias.
Oh,
So I'm not sure who made and seconded, but I know it wasn't Victor that did both, so that part needs to be amended.
I seconded it.
Oh, okay.
okay, alrighty. So roll call on approval of the minutes.
I
Chris-
actually have a comment on the minutes also.
Excuse me?
I also have a comment on the minutes.
Sure,
I referenced the, just the name of the project, the Notre Dame Rectory,
mhm,
and what was left out of that, what I was thinking about is that I want to make sure the record minutes reflect that the diocese had sold that property and it's now owned by private individuals. I believe it's the Langevins. So I just wanted to amend that also.
okay,
And I have something I need to amend too. In the section about the Dr. Fisk house, it says where I'm going to recuse myself from future votes. It's because I'm a member of the Preservation Society, not the Historic Society.
so with the following amendments, can I have approval for the meetings from March 2nd?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with those amendments made.
Second,
I'll second.
okay. Roll call, Christine Oliveira,
Yes.
Paul Machado,
Yes.
John Ferrera,
Yes.
Carolyn Alburn.
Yeah.
Alex Sylvia,
Yes.
John Brandt, the minutes pass. First on the, next is the FY '22 funding hearings. Our first project is going to be Fall River Museum. Let's see. We're applying for some more brickwork and stuff. In the past, we have going back with from FY '16, we did a structural assessment for $21,395. Then in '17, we did a brick and mortar repointing and repairs for $195,000, and FY '18 restorations for $153,772, and FYI '19 masonry work for $172,935. This has always been a project that we've been working on, and I'll let Michael LePage let us know where we're at the moment.
Good evening, committee members. How are you this evening?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Thanks, Mike.
Hi. How are you? Thank you for inviting me to your meeting this evening. I appreciate it. I was hoping that Chris Gallagher would join me along with the architect. I don't know if they're going to be dialing in. I just spoke with him on the phone a short while ago. So I don't know what the committee is interested in. I've got basically two projects on the table. I have the 2018, 2019 funding for window work that was been pending for a few years now. And then also to the 2021 funding for a new roof replacement. So I don't know which one you'd want me to discuss first.
Go ahead and discuss the new roof for 21.
So as the committee may or may not know, we are a nonprofit and we do not have the ability to get funding for prevailing wages. I should say we don't have the ability to get quotes for prevailing wages because we are not a city entity. So this project is a little bit unique. It's changed its format over the years, where we used to be a private project, now we're a public project. So being that we're a private entity, in order for us to get quotes, we need to get them through the city of Fall River. That's why I was hoping Chris could join us because he's got the information on that. All I can do is present the application and meet with you folks to answer any questions. The roof currently on the museum is in very sad shape. It's over 30 plus years old. It's been leaking. It's been patched several times. I'd say at least a half a dozen times to my memory. And we have some interior damage as a result. One of my members was hanging a fixture on the outside of the building not that long ago and noticed that there was water seeping in between the brickwork, which tells me that the gutter line, which is in desperate need of repair, along with the roof, is causing moisture to get in behind the newly renovated brick that you mentioned, John, earlier. And that's a concern because if we don't address the roof, we're going to lose or potentially damage work that's already been done. The roof, you might say, should have come first. That's not something we picked. We had a long laundry list of items that needed to be done, and that was something that was picked by a formal committee. So again, I don't have any quotes to give you other than the ones that I had when I went private. That's in my application, and it's totaling $381,065 currently. But again, prevailing wages, that's going to go up. And the fact that it's several years old is also going to change. I've been applying for this roof project for the past, this is going to be the third year now.
I wish Chris was here tonight because with the two that we did approve, it'd be nice to see that moving along before we even decide to vote on another one. Maybe we can, if Chris doesn't come, maybe we can put him on next week's agenda, see if he can make it and let us know, because your project's kind of tied. I mean, you already have over, like you said, 300,000 outstanding. But I'll open this up to question. Christine Oliver, do you have any questions?
Yeah, one. So did the question of ownership of the building get resolved?
No, unfortunately. Well, it has been resolved. I spoke with the new attorney for the current administration, and I guess the way I understand it is the first three projects that we awarded money from CPA when it was considered a private project, I guess that was sort of something that was missed. It should have been municipal from day one. So the answer is it's got to stay municipal. But the problem is I'm sort of stuck in a little bit of quandary there because you know what I mean? I'm private and I lease space in a municipal building and I don't have the ability to get those numbers for you. I have to rely on somebody from the city to do that work. It's very frustrating, actually. It ties my hands. As you know, in the past, you've seen my applications. I've been commented on my I've been several nice comments for the committee in the past. It's, gave me accolades on my applications and how well they were done. I appreciate that. But it's just frustrating because I don't have that. I lost that control. So is it possible to move me towards the end of the agenda to see if maybe he appears?
Can I have a motion to move the Fire Museum to the end of the meeting?
I'll make a motion to move it to the end for discussion.
Second,
Seconded.
okay. Vote, Christine,
Yes.
Paul Machado, John Ferrer,
Yes.
Carolyn Alburn,
Yeah.
Alex Sylvia,
Yes.
John Brandt, yes. So we'll move you to the end of the meeting, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Next is a request for by the Historical Commission. Rick Mancini, the request is for $70,000. It's for preparing Form Bs for historic resources in the East Fall River section of Fall River and Steep Brook. Recommended for listing on the National Register of Historical Places. I guess there's over 100 houses in that area that we haven't looked at. We don't have a real estimate on that. We did get some supporting from Mike Biot, Labasia. And Rick, I'll let you tell us about it. Hello, Rick?
Rick, you're muted.
Hello?
What's going on the screen there?
Are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing?
Yeah, it's some Zoom thing. Read the report.
I'm seeing the same thing.
Oh, okay.
It's a screen share from Alfred Lima and Rick is muted still.
Oh, okay.
I'll be coming right back on.
I know Rick had said earlier he was having a little bit of trouble with his computer. Let's see. Rick, can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Al.
We can hear Al. We can't hear Rick though.
Okay. I'm not sure Rick is signed in to the
He
Zoom
is.
meeting.
He's on the. I can see his face. I just
Oh,
can't hear
okay.
anything.
Okay. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any.
Yeah, can you tell us the importance of why this project should move forward?
Yeah. Well, first of all, doing a survey of the bioreserve, the eastern part of Fall River, was recommended in the CPC's planning document and has been for quite a few years. So that certainly needs to be implemented. And secondly, the Steep Brook area is very important. And many residents from the Plymouth plantation live there. And now that the 500th anniversary is this year, it's time to sort of update the inventories that are there. A lot of the inventories that we mentioned in the survey have not been adequately implemented. And what we want to do is basically bring those Form Bs up to the standards, the current standards of the Mass Historical Commission. both for the Form Bs for the Steep Brook area and also for the bioreserve as well.
Okay. I do see this was included in the city's master plan, so that's nice to see. Christine Oliver, do you have any questions?
No, but just to give a little background on Form
Excuse me,
B.
this is Rick again. Am I back on?
Oh,
You're
yeah,
back
we
on,
can
Rick.
hear you now.
All right, I've just got I don't know what happened here, but I got this, I still can see myself on the screen, but in a very small format, and I'm able to hear all of you very well. There you
Okay.
go, you're all
There
back.
it is.
That's
Okay.
better.
Okay, so no, what I was gonna say is about Form Bs and why they're important is they're used by the public. It gives a good history of a property, and what happens is a lot of the properties down in that area need updating with new information. There are a lot of properties that don't have Form Bs done for them, as well as up in the east side of the city, which really there's not a lot of historical information on that, and they are the Form Bs are found on the Massachusetts Cultural Resource Information System, which is called MACRIS, and people can go in and look up the properties and get information, because I know we use them. We use MACRIS all the time to find out about different properties in the city. And it's just, it is the north end of the city is considered is actually the oldest settlement in the city, and really they need a little love down in that area as well as the east side. So this is the Historical Commission feels that it really is an important.
There's also a standard here, if I might just interrupt,
Absolutely.
Kristen.
Absolutely.
There's a standard that the Mass Historical Commission has, and this would help us to meet that particular standard that's requested by the Mass Historical Commission. Getting both the east side of the city and the Steep Brook area up to meet their minimum standards for historic representation.
All righty. Paul Machado, you have any questions?
Unmute yourself, Paul.
Yeah, I saw that. No,
Okay. John Ferrer, any questions?
No,
Okay. Carolyn Alburn, any questions?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Alex, any questions?
No.
All righty. Well, Rick, thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, it is on the, I like this part of the city master plan, so it's a nice project.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Two.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Next
Rick.
up is
Thank you, Al.
the Bell Towers. Request for 48,000. This is to restore and return the bells to working order. It's going to replace some of the wiring and controls where you hear the bells going off. My only question, Bill, is who owns the plaza there?
That's a very good question, and interesting story. When Chris Gallagher and I went out to do a little site visit right across from City Hall, and earlier when I talked with John Perry, actually everybody I talked to in City Hall thought that the land that those bells are currently located on was just a corner of a public street, sort of a sidewalk. And as things progressed, a little voice in my head said, "Bill, you're a title attorney by trade. You should check the title to that area to make sure." And lo and behold, we discovered that that little corner actually belongs to Tony Cordero's LLC. He recently purchased the ILGWU building right next to where the towers are located. And just as a quick history, these bells have been traveling around for a while. They started in City Hall, not to be confused with the Durfee bells, which you probably read about in the paper recently. These are City Hall bells. And when City Hall was torn down, they went into storage. And then for a while, they were at a failed mall, generally in the area where the courthouse is downtown now. And they did a little tour of duty there. And then when that was torn down, they went into storage. And then the ILGWU folks said to the city, you know, why don't you put those bells on our property and on a handshake? And they never conveyed an easement or conveyed a title to that corner to the city. And the city put the bells there and everybody was happy about it. And so right up to the present, now we find out that Tony owns the land. So not a problem, though. I've spoken with Tony. He's a public spirited citizen of Fall River. He likes the project. He gave us a letter in support of the project, which I submitted with the application. And he basically said, I don't want to convey it to you right now. I'm just in the process of buying this building and I want to rehab this building for residential use. But go ahead, fix the bells. They need to be fixed. They need to be preserved. And if I ever need that corner, I'll give the city 6 months notice and you can just move the bells. And that's really, he was being a little conservative about that. In subsequent conversations with him, he said, look, you need 6 months, you need a year, whatever it turns out to be, I want to cooperate with the city. So it's not like he's going to come in and kick us out on a 30-day notice. So the work that's necessary to preserve these assets can go forward. And at some point in time, either Tony will decide that he really doesn't need that corner and he'll convey an easement to the city or convey the title to the city, or he'll say, I really need that to go along with the ILGWU project. And, how much time do you need to move them? And then we can move them. We've already identified a couple of spots around City Hall Plaza where they could easily be moved. And so that's, excuse me, ultimately not going to be a problem. The problem is if we do nothing at this point in time. Weather's starting to take its tone, its tone on the bells, its toil on the bells. There's work that needs to be done to preserve them from deteriorating further. And part of the problem also has to do with the control mechanism that makes them ring. That's currently located in the basement of the ILGWU building, and that has got to be relocated into a public space because Tony's going to use the building for other purposes. So we need to address the situation now. There's nothing in the proposal that can't be moved across the street if it came to that. My educated guess is that Tony will very soon realize that that corner is really an amenity for the project that he's working on, and will probably be happy to have the city take the title and continue to maintain the bells. So a long answer to a short question. Sorry about that, but I wanted you to know the history.
That's okay. Why wouldn't you just consider moving it to the city property right now, since you're going to have to move the wiring, the base needs to be fixed? Just seems to be better to do.
It might be considered. I just wanted to get this in front of you to see if we can get funding to fix the asset before we start talking about moving it. As I said, we've identified a couple of spots where it could be moved to. It's a situation where we'd have to do some preparation of the new site and get a crane to lift them up and swing them across the street and plunk them down. So not a terribly big project, but we wanted to make sure that there was interest in preserving the bells and reactivating the bells first before we move them.
Okay. Let's see. Christine, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so Bill, all of the, from what I understand, the mechanisms to actually work the bells are inside of the ILGWU building?
Yes, they are. And in inspecting them, we actually located the company in Charleston, South Carolina that made the bells. These go back to 1904, and they're still in business, and they're still repairing bells, restoring bells, and making available mechanisms to control the chiming of the bells. The one that's located in the ILGWU building is obsolete, and the proposal is to get their current model control panel, which can be activated remotely via somebody's cell phone, rather than having to, walk over to wherever it is and open up a cabinet and poking a few buttons. It can be handled remotely. So that would be part of the package that we've asked for.
So you wouldn't, so Mr. Cudero would have nothing to do anymore with the activation of the bells? It would just be his only association is that the bells are on his property, but as far as making the bells chime, it would have nothing to do with the building anymore?
That's correct. We don't want to give Tony the mechanism. He'd have too much fun playing with the bells. No, it would be totally in the control of the city. The mayor can sit on his living room sofa and activate the bells with the new mechanism.
Okay.
All right. Paul, any questions?
No.
Okay. John Ferrer, any questions?
Yeah, pretty much the same questions that you and Kristen had. I was thinking the same thing along the line of remotely being able to control the bells. And if we're looking at moving it and the base is in dire need, I'd like to, did you get any, I know it's still early and you're probably going to say no, you didn't get any quotes as to be able, what it would cost to move it over to the city property, did you?
No, not yet, no. I mean, if you're concerned about that, the committee, I suppose, could approve the funding of what we've asked for, but subject to a relocation plan being put into place. And then that's, I know you guys can't fund the relocation. That would not be a qualifying expense. So that's sort of where we're stuck on this. But everything else that I've asked for, I think does qualify. If you read the application, I think we justified the expenses. There are a few things that Chris Gallagher's team would take care of, some things that do not really qualify under your standards. But if you approved this work, you could make it subject to either Tony conveying a permanent easement to us or the city relocating it. And then the city council would have to undertake a vote to spend the money to get a crane in and move it across the street to a new location. And I'm pretty confident they would. This is from what we see in the Herald News in the past couple of days. This is the season of the bells. We've got the Durfee bells, and now we've got these bells, and I think it would be a project they would support. And I frankly, and I don't know if Tony's listening, but I'm pretty confident Tony's going to do the right thing and just convey us an easement so we don't have to move him. But he wants to be a little cautious. It's just the early days of his project at the ILGWU. He's got to tweak it a little bit. And I frankly think ultimately he'll just convey an easement to the city to leave them where they are.
Okay. Caroline, any questions?
No.
Okay. Alex, any questions?
Yeah, one question. So if questions of an easement aren't settled, say by the time of funding being allocated and the progress were to progress in a more limited scope, like just preserving the bells, would those preserved bells be put back into the location they're at now, or would the city opt to store them on a public owned property location?
I'm not sure I follow. Could you break that down for me a little bit?
Yeah, so if funding was approved just to say preserve the bells, and
Okay.
you didn't know if the easement questions were going to be settled by the time the project would move forward, would the city put the preserved bells back where they are now, or would you just store them on a location owned by the city?
Well, I suppose my reaction to that is I don't want to see them put in storage again. These bells have spent too much time in warehouses. I'd like to see them on public display and actively making noise.
Yeah. All righty. Sounds good. All right. We'll move on to the next project, which is Jerry Lawton Park. That's been there for quite a number of years. Requesting $262,350. The space is a flex space. Brick surface will be repaired, replanted planters. It can be used by private, I guess we want to use it by private people if they wanted to rent it out. My only question, Bill, is this park controlled by the park department?
Yes, it is. And the park department has endorsed my proposal, and there's a letter in the package to that effect.
Okay. Because if it wasn't, we don't do like land streetscapes, so the park department controls it. That does qualify for funding.
Right. Now that exact issue was brought up when we filed this, and you're absolutely right. You guys do not fund streetscapes, and this qualifies as a park. The park department knows that it would be within their jurisdiction. And if I could just anticipate a question in response to Patrick Higgins' remark. He says he would like to have the original benches reinstalled. I believe I sent you a photo with the package showing what that looked like. It would make it look like a 1960s railroad station with these huge concrete benches, static, limiting the use that you could make of this space. And that's one of the things we want to avoid. We do not want to restore the benches. This is intended to be a flex space. The initial impetus for this is really two things. First of all, it's an eyesore and it's a detriment to downtown development. Anybody who's seen Jerry Lawton Plaza knows that this is not the sort of landscaping that you want across the street from, say, a public courthouse where people from all over the state are coming. This is not the sort of condition that you want your public spaces to be in if you want to encourage residential and retail development downtown. And the other thing is, this was a response to COVID. We want to have this park as a flexible space. We want to have it, and part of the request is to have the surface restored and make it available, say, for local restaurants if they want to use it during the day or in the evening to set up their tables and chairs, but also to have a storage facility in the corner of the park where they could put these things away at night. You could have it flexible on, say, weekends if you wanted to have an art display, if you wanted to have a musical presentation. If you have permanent benches or any kind of permanent seating, it just gets in the way of the flexibility of this space, which is really what we're shooting for.
How did you come up with the total of 262?
I got 3 quotes from different folks as to what they thought they could do on it.
So that would be doing the brick surface over on the ground, and what that would?
It's mainly resurfacing, rehabilitating the existing planter that's on the south side of the space, putting in a new planter on the north side, putting in some lighting, which is very important because one of the problems with this space is people go down Anawan Street to get to the Pearl Street garage, and at night, Jerry Lawton Plaza can get a little creepy. The lighting is way insufficient to give you a feeling of safety and security. So new lighting would be installed. As I said, the new planters would be installed together with irrigation so that they actually survive without somebody running out with a watering can all the time. We would also have fixtures tapped into the Cherry and Webb building to provide electrical and water service for possibly the restaurant that might use the space for its lunchtime service, or for a special food truck or food event where somebody needed electricity or water to have a special event there. By the way, the other thing, aside from restaurant use, you could use this space for pop-up retail. You might have somebody with a craft fair, might have somebody set up to sell whatever sort of retail just on a pop-up basis. So it'd be a nice flexible space, safe, secure, the surface no longer a trip hazard, the lighting there so that it's no longer a spooky area at night.
Okay. All right.
And by the way, I would mention the application asked whether we had asked for funding from any other sources. And we explored this quite extensively and actually did have an application for one other source, but it was denied. And it was a source that wanted a very close connection between the proposal and supporting housing. And I thought that it was a winner. We took the position that one of the things you need downtown is some people living there so that they can support local retail. And one of the things that you need to attract housing downtown is nice public spaces. And I thought it was a pretty good connection. Apparently, the people that made the decision didn't think it was a close enough connection. So there is no other application pending for this project.
Okay. I do see that's also part of the master plan of the city, you know, revitalizing downtown. So
Yeah, yes, it absolutely is. If you look at the downtown urban renewal plan, one of the things that they hammer is the fact that there's so little public open space in the downtown area. Aside from Old Second Street, and well, I think they mentioned some other park area, which I didn't really think was part of the downtown at all. But right now, for public open space, you've got Old Second Street and you've got Jerry Lawton Plaza. And as you know, historically, we've done what we could to bring the Old Second Street back to life. And I think this would be another nice addition. But we have a real dearth of public open space downtown.
okay. Christine, you have any questions?
Yeah, I just, not so much questions, but just my thoughts on this. So the idea of it being a public space, which a park, I understand that, and I think that that's a good idea. But then you talk about leasing the space to retail businesses or restaurants and things like that. So when you're doing something like that, you're actually taking that away from the public because you're giving it over to a retail or a restaurant, and then it is no longer a park or a public space. So that's a concern for me, but also I do have the same concern as Mr. Higgins in that the benches will not be there. And I don't feel that they need to be the original stone benches that were there. But I do believe that if you're going to redo Jerry Lawton Square, there need to be benches because the park, this area, this space was dedicated to Jerry Lawton, and his main thing was working with the homeless. And I can understand the concerns that people have about the area being unsafe and things like that. And I think if you just increase the visibility and you increase the lighting and that would really take away from some of the issues that have been brought up in the past, because I was on the park board when this came before us, and I didn't support it then because they did not want to put the benches back in. And unless there are some type of benches going back in, it's not something I can support, especially considering it is named for a man who dedicated a good part of his life for the homeless. And when you're making this a flex space the way that you're talking about making it, then you're still taking away part of that and giving it over to retail or restaurants and things like that. It's not a true public space. So unless there are some type of benches that are going to be there, then I don't see this as something I would support. I mean, other than that, I like the idea. I do agree that we need more recreational areas downtown, but not in this way, not taking away from Jerry Lawton.
Well, two answers to that. First of all, the temporary uses by retail, pop-up retail, or a restaurant that might use it for a lunchtime service, that's not unusual for the public to rent out